Okay, hello everyone. Meet me again with me Afdalul Haq Soriladi in my channel afdalulhaq.sa. In this video, we will discuss about two big topic. It's about energy diversification strategy and macroeconomic stability. Okay, the table of content we will discuss about four chapter. The first chapter is about energy diversification. There are three part. For the first is about introduction, next Indonesian energy policy, and the last one Indonesia energy utilization estimate 2026. The second chapter is about macroeconomic. There are three sub or part chapter. It's about definition and indicator. The second is main objective of macroeconomics, and the last one is about macroeconomics and energy policy. The third chapter is about energy diversification strategy and macroeconomic stability. There are three parts. The first, macroeconomic indicator. The second, the relationship energy between energy by source and a macroeconomic. And the last one is about policy recommendation about energy diversification to make macroeconomic stability. And the last one is about conclusion. Okay, for the first, we will discuss about energy diversification. Energy diversification refers to strategic expansion to energy supply source across various fuel types, including fossil fuels and renewable energy, to reduce dependency on a single energy source, particularly fossil fuels such as oil, coal, and natural gas, by promoting a more balanced energy mix that include renewable energy sources such as solar energy, hydropower, geothermal, wind energy, and bioenergy like biomass and biodiesel. Okay, next about Indonesian energy policy. The government of Indonesia, through its Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, has set a long-term energy transition strategy anchored in two key frameworks. From 2021 until 2030, our target is the electricity supply business plan, and at the 2060, the national net zero emission is our target. The RUPTL plans to add around 51.6 gigawatt of new power generation capacity by 2030, with an expected energy mix consisting of approximately 51% in renewable energy source and for 49% fossil fuels, reflecting a transitional pace toward cleaner energy. In this slide, we know our target in 2030, our energy source will be dominant with renewable energy than fossil fuels. Next, Indonesia possesses one of the largest renewable energy potential in the world. We have about 3,500 gigawatt energy potential, such as in solar energy, hydropower, wind energy, geothermal, bioenergy, and ocean energy. We have many locations that have more one energy potential, such as like Cirata, Waduk Cirata. We have two potential energy potential in Cirata, solar energy PLTS Cirata, and hydropower PLTA Cirata. Next, Indonesia energy potential mapping we can see in our government website in geoportal esdm.go.id. We can see the mapping our energy potential, such as coal potential, gas potential, and bioenergy and other. The following is an estimate in Indonesian energy utilization in 2026 based on the RUPTL. We can see fossil fuels such as coal, oil, gas still dominant for our energy sources. It's about 80%, 80%, and our renewable energy only 20%, such as hydropower, geothermal, solar, wind energy, and bioenergy. From this table, we can see our target in 2025 is about 26%. We will use renewable energy, but is still not achieved. Okay, next we will see the coal potential areas. Indonesian coal is concentrated in the western and central region, such as Sumatra, Java, and Kalimantan. We have about 93 billion tons of coal resources, making it one of the largest coal exporters globally. It's about 40% maybe 40% in globally. Kalimantan serves as the backbone of Indonesia coal export and a major contributor to foreign exchange earning. Next, oil, gas, and potential areas. We can see from Sumatra, Andaman Block in Aceh until West Papua, Bintuni Basin. We have many many potential areas to get oil and gas. After that, we can see the hydropower potential areas. We can our overall our island have the hydropower potential from Sumatra until Papua. Next, geothermal potential. Indonesia is the second largest geothermal energy producer in the world, leveraging its location within the Pacific Ring of Fire. It's in Indonesia we can see in Sumatra, Java, and Nusa Tenggara we have potential geothermal energy. Next, we will see the solar energy potential areas. All of our island from Sumatra until Papua, we have potential the solar energy because our location in equator area, we can get about 300 gigawatt, and it's making solar the country's largest renewable resources. Next, we can see wind energy potential areas. A most viable location in South Sulawesi is Nusa Tenggara and West Nusa Tenggara. Next, biomass energy potential areas. We can see in Sumatra and Kalimantan is dominate due to extensive palm oil. Next, we can see biodiesel energy potential areas in Sumatra, Kalimantan, Sulawesi, and Papua. We have the biodiesel energy potential. This region supply feedstock for Indonesian national biodiesel blending, such as B35 and B40 programs. Next, we will discuss about the second chapter is about macroeconomic. Macroeconomic is a branch of economics that studies the behavior, structure, and performance of an entire economy at the national or global level. Some of the most commonly used macroeconomic indicators include GDP, inflation rate, unemployment, interest rate, exchange rate, and fiscal deficit. And we can description the indicator. For the first, GDP is total economic output. Inflation rate is general price level change. Unemployment is labor force participation. Interest rate is cost of borrowing. Exchange rate is currency value. And the last one, fiscal deficit, is government spending versus revenue. Next, we will discuss about main objective of macroeconomics. For the first, economic growth. Economic growth measure through indicators such as GDP, productivity level, investment and capital formation. The second, price stability. Microeconomics studies inflation and deflation to ensure stable purchasing power. High inflation may lead to rising cost of living, reduced real income, and economic uncertainty. Next, fuel employment. Macroeconomics analyze labor market conditions to minimize unemployment and underemployment. The last one, price stability, include trade balance, exchange rate stability, and capital inflow and outflow. Macroeconomics and energy policy. Macroeconomics is closely linked to energy policy because energy price affect inflation, fuel import influence trade balance, energy subsidies impact fiscal deficit, and renewable investment affect GDP growth. For example, in Indonesia, rising our oil price increase the subsidy burden. Higher subsidies increase fiscal deficit. After that, fiscal deficit impact national economic stability. For the third chapter, we will discuss about energy diversification strategy and macroeconomic stability. For the first part of the third chapter, we will discuss about macroeconomic indicator. For the first one, we will discuss about inflation. Energy diversification affect economic stability through several transmission channels. We can divide into channel fossil fuels and renewable fuels. For the first one, fossil fuels will make fluctuating price, rising production cost, and the last one we will see the rising inflation. But renewable energy will make stable price, stable production cost, and we will make the control inflation. For example, if global oil price rise or increase, so transportation cost will increase and industrial production cost will increase, price and good will increase, and the last one, the inflation will increase. In macroeconomic terms, we can say inflation for T time is alpha plus beta multiple energy price in T time plus E times, where energy price for T times represent domestic or imported energy cost, and beta is more than zero implies a positive relationship between energy price and inflation. For fossil fuel dependent economies, global oil price shock tend to produce inflation volatility, reducing household purchasing power and destabilizing monetary policy outcome. Renewable energy sources, by contrast, typically exhibit lower operational cost volatility once installed. Therefore, increasing the share of renewable energy in the national energy mix can reduce exposure to international fuel price fluctuation and contribute to inflation stability. Next, GDP growth. Stable energy will make increased investment, will make increased productivity, and the GDP will increase. The relationship between energy stability and economic growth may be expressed as GDP for T times is function of energy security, investment, and productivity. Energy diversification enhance supply reliability, investment confidence, industrial competitiveness, and infrastructure resilience. Next, we discuss about correlation electricity and GDP. From this chart, we can see the strong correlation between electricity consumption with GDP. If we have the less electricity consumption, we get less GDP. Besides that, if we use the electricity consumption more, increase the electricity consumption, we get more GDP. So, if we want to get more GDP, we must increase our electricity consumption. Next, energy transmission mechanism to inflation and GDP. We can divide the economic cycle to 4 phases. For the first phase, we can see many company will running in information technology sectors, financial, communication, consumer discretionary. This space will increase until get the peak position. In this is the second phase. We can see many company will running in or develop in financial sector and energy and material sectors. After that, the chart will down after get pandemic, maybe like such as COVID-19. The company will develop or running in healthcare, consumer staples, and utilize sectors. After that, we will get the recovery pace. We can see the company will run or develop real estate industrial sectors. Next, about trade balance and exchange rate. Indonesia still import a large amount of fuel. When global oil price rise, so Indonesia import value increase, then current account deficit widens and rupiah will depreciate. However, besides that, with domestic renewable energy, Indonesia energy import decrease, foreign exchange reserve are maintained, and exchange rate stability increase. After that, we will discuss about fiscal stability in economy. In economically, fiscal deficit is function of energy subsidies. As global oil price rise, subsidy costs increase substantially, leading to higher fiscal deficit, reducing public investment capacity, and increased sovereign debt risk. Energy diversification provide an opportunity to reduce long-term subsidy dependence, relocate fiscal resources toward infrastructure, education, and healthcare. And the last one, enhance fiscal sustainability. And the last one about macroeconomic indicator is poverty rate. Energy diversification also contribute reducing energy poverty, increasing access to electricity in remote areas, improving the quality of education, and improving health service. Energy become a factor of production, an instrument of social welfare, and a driver of inclusive development. Next, we can see the relationship energy by source with macroeconomic. For the first one, we can see the fossil fuel. The fossil fuel will impact short-term positive to GDP growth, volatile to exchange rate, weak for fiscal balance, increases risk for inflation, and mixed energy security, and the last one, carbon dependent to industrial development. Next, hydropower. We can see hydropower impact positive to GDP, strengthen to exchange rate stability, improve fiscal balance, stabilize inflation, increases industrial output, and enhance social welfare. Next, geothermal. We can see the geothermal impact is positive for GDP growth, strengthen to exchange rate stability, improves to fiscal balance, stabilize to inflation, increase to industrial competitiveness, and the last one, enhance to energy security. Next, wind and energy. We can see the impact wind energy to indicator of macroeconomics, positive to GDP growth, strengthen to exchange rate stability, improve fiscal balance, stabilize to inflation, enhance to energy security, and increase the regional development. Next, the solar energy impact, positive to growth, GDP growth, strengthen to exchange rate stability, improve fiscal balance, stabilize inflation, increase to industrial output, and enhance to social welfare. And the last one, we can see the bioenergy impact to macroeconomic. For the first, positive to GDP growth, strengthen to exchange rate stability, improve the fiscal balance, stabilize to inflation, increase the employment, and enhance to energy security. Next, we can discuss about the recommendation our policy to make our macroeconomic stability. For the first one, we can see the reform energy subsidy policy. The problem that we have is energy subsidies have historically consumed hundreds of trillions of rupees annually. Subsidies increase fiscal vulnerability when our price rise, and the subsidy expansion during global oil shock with widened fiscal deficit. So the recommendation for our policy is shift from universal energy subsidies to targeted direct cash transfer, introduce an automatic fuel price adjustment mechanism linked to global price, and the last one, redirect subsidies saving to renewable infrastructure investment. And macroeconomic impact, we can see the reduced fiscal deficit volatility, strengthen investor confidence, lower risk of inflation shocks, and stabilize government debt trajectory. Next, the second recommendation is strengthen renewable energy pricing regulation. The problem, we can get the problem regulatory uncertainty and tariff caps discourage private renewable investment, PLN procurement structural limit long-term bankability. So the recommendation is implement transparent and competitive auction mechanism, establish long-term power purchase agreement with predictable pricing, and introduce fit-in tariff for emerging renewable sectors. Macroeconomic impact, we can see increase foreign direct investment, improve capital inflow, strengthen exchange rate stability, and expand domestic industrial activity. Next, mandate renewable portfolio standard. The problem, renewable target exists but enforcement remain weak, coal dominance persists in electricity generation. The recommendation is legally mandate renewable portfolio standard for PLN and independent power producer. Set binding renewable shares per province based on resource potential, And the last one, penalize non-compliance through regulatory sanction. Macroeconomic impact, we can see the reduce long-term fossil fuel dependencies, improve trade balance, enhancing energy security, and reduce exposure to import inflation. Next, about develop domestic renewable manufacturing ecosystem. The problem: wind turbine, solar panel, and advanced components are largely import. Renewable deployment may initially increase capital import. So the recommendation is provide tax incentive for domestic manufacturing or renewable component, integrated renewable industry, develop into national industrial strategy, and the last one, encourage joint venture with global technology leaders. The macroeconomic impact, we can see there reduce import dependency, improve current account balance, create high value employment, and support long-term GDP growth. Next, the recommendation is expand green financing and carbon market mechanism. The problem: renewable energy project require high upfront capital, financing constraints, low energy transition. So the recommendation is expand green sukuk issuance, strengthen Indonesia carbon market and carbon tax framework, and the last one, mobilize blended finance under just energy transition partnership. Macroeconomic impact, we can see attract international climate finance, reduce fiscal burden on the state, enhance financial sector debt, and support sustainable investment flow. Next, about strengthen grid infrastructure and energy storage regulation. Problem: intermittent renewable source require grid modernization, grid limitation restrict renewable penetration. So the recommendation is accelerate inter-island transmission development, introduce regulation for battery energy storage system, support smart grid technology investment. Macroeconomic impact, we can see the increased system reliability, reduce blackout risk, improve productivity, and strengthen industrial competitiveness. And the last one, regional based energy diversification strategy. Problem: renewable potential is unevenly distributed. Policy of often centralized without regional optimization. So the recommendation is develop province specific renewable energy master plans, incentive renewable industrial cluster in resource rich region. Macroeconomic impact, we can see the reduce regional inequality, promote inclusive growth, and the strengthen domestic energy resilience. And we can make the stabilization channel. We can get four policy reform: subsidy reform, renewable pricing reform, domestic manufacturing, and carbon market. And we can see the subsidy reform and renewable pricing reform is the best reform that make strong the macroeconomic indicator. And the conclusion for this topic: energy diversification is a critical policy instrument for maintaining Indonesia macroeconomic stability by reducing vulnerability to global fossil fuel price volatility that can trigger trade deficit, inflation, fiscal imbalance, and currency depreciation. By transitioning toward renewable energy and reduce over over reliance or import fossil fuels, Indonesia can improve fiscal sustainability, stabilize inflation, strengthen trade balance performance, and enhance long-term economic competitiveness. Therefore, energy diversification should be integrated into broader macroeconomic and industrial policy framework to support sustainability growth, monetary stability, and social welfare development. Okay, thanks for watching my video. Follow me at Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or TikTok. Bye bye.